So it's time again for another late night edition of Show Up Central Oregon. And Tuesday nights are when Josh, Cordell, and I get together, two men talking about our emotions or positive talk with Josh. Hey, Josh, how are you this fine evening? I love your background. That's all I have to say right now.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm doing great. Had to get outside. The kids are going to bed a little later now that we're headed into summer. So I had to, if I'm going to make any noise, I had to leave the house unless I want to get in trouble. And I don't like being in trouble.
is that
So
your backyard, Josh?
I wish. Let's pretend it is. No,
Okay.
no, I actually drove down the street and found a nice little field area.
Yeah.
But I could go for a nice big backyard. My backyard is significantly smaller than what I have behind me here.
You don't live in like a 40-acre mansion? Is that
Well, no, unfortunately I don't. I do have a nice view from my backyard, but it's just of an elementary school. So it's like trees and stuff like that out my back window. So I appreciate it. It's nice, but it's definitely not. It's not this. It's not being out, having a nice big spread.
yeah.
Someday maybe that would be pretty nice. In fact, that's one of the things with the whole quarantine. I think probably a lot of people realize, like, ooh, man, having a big yard, having some at home activities would be a bonus for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So you got away, didn't you? In that, didn't I hear or didn't I see that you spent some time away?
I did. It was really nice. Emily, my wife, who I owe big time, and she's reminded me of that a couple times. I We have right now, so we have our 6-year old, our 18-year old is easy. She just is like very self sufficient, and then we have a 1-year old foster kiddo, and 1-year old is he's quite a bit of work. Cute little dude, but man, he's a lot of work. And so Emily said that I could get away for a full day. It wasn't like an overnight trip or anything, but I left, and I actually, this is kind of, I'm weird like this, but I drove almost 500 miles in one day, and I just like stopped wherever I wanted and hiked around. Got back around midnight, and it was awesome. It was just great. Went up the coast and listen to an audiobook. I really love, so I love audiobooks, and I especially love if you can do an audiobook in one sitting. So I try to do that every once in a while, maybe like once a month if I can, where you take an audiobook and listen all the way through it in one day. And so I got to do that, and I just talk about refreshed. Like that was huge. It was a good day for me, and it's like that was Friday. I'm headed into the long weekend. And so I'm feeling pretty juiced. I'm feeling like I've got a lot of energy, and like I had a really productive day today. And yeah, it was beautiful.
One of these days, it would be fun to actually have you and Emily talk about emotions. I think it'd be kind of fun to have the two of you talking about that. I think Emily could give me some good insight on you.
Let's do it. That's great. We've been joking because I've been doing a lot of, well, not much these days. I've been doing this with you, which is really fun. But right before the lockdown and everything, I was doing quite a bit of speaking about youth sports and about kids and stuff like that. And we were joking that Emily is like, she's the brains of the operation, and she's the much better looking one and all of those things. But for some reason, I'm the one who does like all the speaking.
Right.
And I was just kind of like, why did we decide that? Like,
Yeah.
who made that call?
Yeah.
Like, why we need to change that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be fun to have her on.
So I have a question. So the first off, 500 miles, that's just insane, Josh. I'm just sorry. I fall asleep when it's 100 miles, so I couldn't do 500. That's for sure. 500 is a long ways. I mean, Seattle is like 360 or something, I think. So I mean, you could have driven to Canada with 500 miles.
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you my routes. I went down so I went down past Lapine, and then I turned and went to Oak Ridge, which is a way you can go to Eugene, and stopped in Oak Ridge. Then I went to Eugene, stopped in Eugene. Then I went to Florence on the coast, stopped there. Then I went to Newport, stopped a couple times on the coast between Florence and Newport. then went the back way from Newport to Salem, and then over the St. Am back home from Salem.
Dang.
I know, and it's so fun. I mean, I love that. I think in another life I would have been like a driver.
Or you would have been on the Oregon Trail coming across the country.
I'm not tough enough for that. I wouldn't have made it. And I played the game a lot as a kid, and I didn't make it ever. So I know that wouldn't have worked out well for me.
You got the beard for it at least, though, Josh. Come on.
I do have the beard for it, yeah. But no, I'm realistic about how tough I am. I don't think the Oregon Trail would have suited me that well.
Let's talk though, Josh. I mean, that was a 1 day thing. I mean, you just spent an entire day, or was that a 2 day? What? I mean, I'm sorry,
1 day,
500 miles in a day. That's some. I mean, what time did you leave and what time did you get back?
So I left the house at 9:30 a.m. So I didn't leave that early. I actually I knew I had the day off. Emily's like, you don't have to do anything today other than watch the kids in the morning while she gets a shower. So I slept in, she took a shower, I got in the car and took off, and I was gone from 9:30 till I want to say 11:30. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's a ways. Yeah. So but
it's a long ways.
So when Emily said, "Hey, you need to take off," was that a Josh, you need a little mental health break, you need to take off, or was that to Emily, was that hey, I need to spend some time? How did that go down for you?
So I asked her if that would be okay. I was like, can I take a day off? And she said, yep. And we've just had this thing since the quarantine started. So one of the things we like to do is just a quick trip. We don't have the resources or the schedule to travel the way we would dream of traveling. So we're more like, can we go to the coast for a weekend? Can we go to Portland for a day? Can we do something like that? And so we've been in that mode for a long time. And so we're pretty like easy with just like day trips and stuff like that. But this was one of those things where, so when the quarantine started and we realized like we were spending massive amounts of days at home, I brought it up as an idea and I said, what if I had a day off, then you had a day off? And she's like, done, let's do it. And I am selfish, so I put myself first and always say like, what if I have a day, then you have a day? As soon as I said that, I was like, yeah, that is something I would do. I don't, unfortunately, I'm trying to get better at that. I should be like, hey, why don't you take a day off? And then when it works, I'll take a day off. But my mentality is like, I'm going to take a day off and then you take one too. But yeah, so we've started doing that. And we've done it a couple times now where so she gets her next one. But what I told her is that now that things are opening up, her next day off is going to be a night away because she doesn't ever do nights away. Like since our 6-year-old was born, Emily has had like hardly any nights alone. I mean, literally like a couple, maybe one for sure. One I can think of off the top of my head, and I'm thinking about trying to think of another one. I can't think of another one. So now we'll find, a place for her to stay now that you can actually kind of like leave your house and stay somewhere. So in answer to your question, I brought it up. She was all for it. She was like, yes, you need that. She knows that like, it's kind of one of those interesting things where I don't know how you are, but I'm one of those people who like, I'm fueled by these two things. I'm fueled by like other people and by solitude. And if I have too much of one or the other, then I get a little out of whack. So I need groups, I need people, I need relationship that really like fuels me. But if I go too long without having alone time, then I get kind of weird.
So I think that's an important part, and I don't want to leave this too untapped. Is the whole thing within relationships? I think we've talked about this whole positive talk and this whole thing, and I think Josh is leaving or is sort of leading us down a good path in the fact that I think as healthy relationships, we need to find those times for ourselves. Because, and especially right now, I mean, the reality is that we have been so entrenched in this that we may need a chance to process our own emotions, and that's really extremely important. I mean, did you find some time? I mean, obviously you were listening to an audiobook, but was there anything that struck you while you were, on that trip, Josh?
Yeah, so I had a couple breakthroughs. One, so it was an interesting day because I had no meetings scheduled, but then as soon as I left, I got a text message from one of my kids with like some really heavy news that was like really like sad, heavy news. And so I had that kind of in the back of my mind all day and to think about. But then listened to an audiobook that was a long one, but I listened sped up so I can
Oh
bust
yeah.
them out
Oh
a
yeah.
little faster. You
I'm
know,
the same
I'm
way.
like a
Yep.
one. Okay, 1.3 to 1.5. 1.3 is usually like my go-to, and the only one that I've slowed down recently was I listened to a book by Russell Brand the other day, and I
Oh
put that on just regular speed because I just love his
yeah,
voice.
I
Like
know.
I literally could like listen to him. I want him to just tell me stories.
Yeah, I know.
Um, so so yeah, so I actually, in answer to your question, I had a lot of downtime and I had a lot of I did the math. I think I had about 4 or 5 hours of the day with no music, no audiobook, no interacting with people. Um, and it was great. And I did have I had a couple breakthroughs. So one thing that was interesting, I I actually got a little emotional when I saw the ocean. So
Hmm.
that was kind of funny. I saw the ocean and I was like, oh man, and the ocean always kind of works as like a reset button for me
Right.
of
Yeah.
it's just like a big perspective kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. But then I've had a project that I've been needing to work on, wanting to work on, trying to work on. And I had kind of this breakthrough of like why I wasn't working on it and how I could make it so much simpler for myself. And it was like one of those things where it just needed some time. It needed like some time to be thought about. And so that was huge. And that was like just like gave me a ton of energy because I feel so good about that now. And I'd been stressing about it.
Do you come back from those, with just sort of a lift in your overall, feeling? And, does Emily see that? Does that sort of reflect in, the family?
Totally. Yeah, no, totally. And I'm someone who I feel like for me, I have a lot of people that I'm trying to try I have a lot of people I feel a responsibility for. And so if I don't do a good job of getting something that gives me some juice to work with, if I don't find a way to be energized like that, then I don't have enough to give. Um, and so, yeah, like today was just ultra productive. Really feel good about my interactions with my family and with the people I'm working with and everything. And so, yeah, I need it, and I think that it does show, and it doesn't always have to be. I will have to. I'll say this in this way. It doesn't always have to be like a full day kind of thing, but I think if you can do a full day, and it doesn't even have to be an overnight, but a full day kind of is a little bit more epic feeling for you. And sometimes you need something that feels like it's broken up the monotony of just this life we're living right now.
Right.
So I think it's a very healthy thing to be in like a really good schedule and routine right now. But you can't schedule and routine every day for like 300 days in a row, or I know it hasn't been that, but it feels like
Yeah.
it.
Well, and I think again, I don't want to leave this too unsaid. I mean, the reality is what you did is so healthy for a relationship and both for yourself and the relationship as a whole. I think it's so important that healthy relationships come from a standpoint of, well, it's kind of interesting, Josh. I'm lecturing on healthy relationships, and yet I'm recently divorced. But
Okay.
here's the here's what I've learned is that it is so important that we spend time away from each other in a healthy manner, like you were saying you did, so that we can come back and be healthy together. And
Mhm.
it's such a difficult concept for people to understand, but us as individuals need that ability to say, I'm okay doing this because this is something I enjoy doing, and then I can come back together and do something that's enjoyable with my spouse, basically at that point in time too. It's just it. If you don't have that time, at least this is my belief. If you don't have that time or that ability to recharge on your own, you get to a point where you're stepping on each other. And I think right now, where this has just been such a difficult time, I think it's so important. And so I applaud you and I applaud Emily definitely for allowing that to to healthily, be that way. And then now we just got to get Emily and just say, hey, you need to go somewhere, and you're gonna go, basically.
Oh, believe me, the moment those words start to come out of my mouth, I'm going to hear the car pulling out of the driveway. There's not going to be any convincing needed.
Burning rubber.
She's really good though. I'm only joking because she does a really good job. She's the organized, smart one in the family when it comes to the two of us. And so she, if whenever she's leaving for just a little while, I'm like, can you make me a few lists of like basically how to like live, and make sure that like the things that need to happen if you're not here.
Oh, that's funny.
And then she makes those lists, and then I always feel really guilty because I'm like, you do all of this, and
do you like? Is it sort of a what you load on the top rack of the dishwasher and what you load on the bottom rack of the dishwasher, Josh?
I'm much better at that. I will admit that at one time, this is about almost 10 years ago, I put the wrong soap in the dishwasher and did the whole like Brady Bunch, fill the kitchen with bubbles. But that was seriously 10 years ago, and I've grown a lot since then. I was so young.
You were married at the time?
Well, I was married at the time, yeah. Okay. It was really... Oh, it was one of those stupid things. I have so many just stupid things that where I thought, this is great. I'll take care of this. Like, just run the dishwasher real fast before I come back. And I came back in, and literally the kitchen was full, like to the countertop, of bubbles because I had put the wrong kind of soap in. And yeah, so that does really happen. I saw that on the Brady Bunch when I was a kid, I think, but it does happen in real life.
Yeah, that's funny.
Probably not too often.
That's funny. So what's this next week look like for you, Josh? What's the what's on your heart this week that you would like to share?
Oh, that's great. That's a great question. So I've been. We talked about those rewords, and it's funny, that has just really been like kind of the thing for me, has been, I've just been thinking about those a lot. And this is a word that is not a reword, but it's the word that has been the emphasis in just kind of my life at the moment, is the word focus. And the question of what are you focusing on right now? And so for me, basically your question was, what does this week look like? What am I going to be focused on? And so before I even get to that thing, the two parts I'm really like thinking about a lot with focus are, number one, am I focused on what matters? Am I focusing on the thing that matters? Or do I allow myself to get sidetracked with, there's so much to get sidetracked with right now, right? So there's all kinds of entertainment available online, as far as just like, what's new on Netflix. That's kind of like one of my things at night, is I'm looking and I'm like, what's new on Netflix? And so it's easy to have lots of distraction. So it's not just like, what am I focused on? But then my other emphasis with it is like, what is that focus like? Like, how focused am I? Because this, I'm sure that this is so true for you, Matt. You've done so many projects, and you've done so many, think of like when you've got a deadline and you're cramming to edit a video, how incredibly focused you can be on that for so long. And you're like, oh, where did that night go? Like, right. I edited through the night.
Yeah.
And so just to pick the things that matter for me and be like, what kind of extreme focus am I able to give that for the time that it applies? So, for example, I'm in a conversation with someone. Am I really focused on our conversation? And am I like knowing that we're not going to have a conversation all day, right? So if I know that this conversation is going to be 15 minutes, what kind of focus can I give them in 15 minutes so that those 15 minutes are like really worth it for both of us? So that's really what I'm looking at this week, is both what I should be focusing on and also how I focus on things.
Right. Yeah. Good. Hey, well, I think that's a good thing to definitely look at. I mean, for me, that focus piece is so, my days are so, I think I've had more focus in the last 3 weeks to my detriment to a certain extent that I have. I'm like, I actually have to make it a confession, Josh, that I actually played Kingdom Hearts 3 for 2 hours on Sunday night. I was like, whoa, what is this? Okay, yeah. So it's like, okay, this, and I felt guilty. That's the problem. I'm like, I felt guilty for
Right.
doing it. It's like, this has been like my only time off, and yet I feel guilty for doing it. Is that crazy?
You gotta find some time. We're not wired to be focused all the time on things, and so we need downtime. We need to go for walks. We need to have some leisure that like doesn't require much focus. Um, and I actually play a video game almost every night. I have a little Nintendo Classic, and I play a single game of Dr. Mario, starting on level 20, which is really intense, but I'm pretty dang good at Dr. Mario, so I usually beat it. And but I play this really stupid game. I got this from my mom a long time ago, of where you just make something up before you play the game. So I play Dr. Mario every night to beat coronavirus. and so it's so ridiculous, and it's so funny to me that I do it. But I have a few things like, I'm a pretty happy at peace kind of guy. And part of it is that I just don't take things very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a few things of where like I play a video game and pretend that if I beat the level, I'm going to save the world. And if I do beat that level, I celebrate like I saved the world. And that sounds really silly, but it's just part of like my routine of like, how do you do it? So I'm all for a little video game distraction now and then, especially right now.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I like I said, it was, and I bought Kingdom Hearts. I bought it when it came out, so that's been like, I don't know, 2 months ago. And so, which I don't know if you've ever seen Kingdom Hearts, but it's basically it's not a kid's game, but it's like a ton of Disney characters in a like a multiplayer. I forget what it's not multiplayer, but your first person adventure game basically. So it's a RPG. There we go. Role playing game. Yeah, I think it's an RPG.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to play Disney characters. You can be Goofy. You can be all these Hercules. You can be it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun. So yeah, I was like, oh, okay, this is all right. So I got into it. I'm like, okay, finally, I'm into the first level. I've played a little bit now. So yeah. Hey, Josh, anything else before I let you go for the evening, man?
No, this is great. It's always good to chat with you, Matt. Keep hanging in there and keep doing the good work that you're doing. It's awesome seeing the videos you're posting. And I know that you've been just such an important part of the community for so long, that what you do is really appreciated. And I'm sure that you as well as many people are ready for actually like live events to start up again, because I know that that's a huge part of what you do. So I just want to encourage you that I think that that's going to happen again in our lifetime. So no, I'm only joking.
It will happen in our lifetime. Yes, it will, Josh. It is. The reality is for us event people that we are being realistic, and it's probably not going to happen until winter. So that's the reality.
Okay.
If anybody's thinking that they're going to be doing an event before October, think again. That's the reality. Okay. So it's going to be a while. Unfortunately, we're losing fairs, we're losing all these things. But again, for those of us in the event industry, we've had to adjust, and it's been fun and it's been interesting. Not everybody has, but I'm fortunate in the fact that I have. So it's been great.
Good job.
Hey, Josh, I appreciate it, man. And you have a wonderful week. And I love the fact that we're doing this again, and I'm looking forward to doing it on a regular basis again. So
yeah, let's do it. Thanks, Matt.
Sounds good, Josh. All right, you too, man.
Talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks. All right, bye.
Bye.
Josh Cordell. Again, we do this every Tuesday night. Positive Talk with Josh. It's fun. It's one of those things that a couple of guys do. And we have some fun with it. And I want to encourage everybody that he and I talked a little bit about emotions are not bad. Anger, joy, love, anger is one of those emotions that is not bad. It gets a bad rap. What you do with that anger can be bad. But knowing where the anger comes from is so important. And so Josh and I are talking about positive talk, and we always talk about things that we can do to choose our, choose how we react. And that is a choice. I mean, if you feel that anger coming, make a choice. Step away. I will have to admit that there's a lot of things in my life a lot of times that I should have stepped away. I've dealt with anger in not healthy ways. If anybody wants to talk about it, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. And I think at some point in time, I may be a little more open book on this. But, everyone, I just encourage you to have a great evening. I'm going to go for a walk. It's weird. It's 8:30. It's semi-light. It's warm out there. I'm going to go for a walk. So, hey, all, thanks for joining us tonight. And I just encourage you, remember, show up for Central Oregon.